Are you a final expense insurance agent that wants to keep more of the business that you sell? Well, you found the right video, my friends. I'm going to help you unpack the problems that a lot of failed insurance agents have made because these little mistakes can be the difference between you making the money and finding success or failing out of a very simple business. Now, before I go into these tips with you, the business is far from easy, but it's very simple. So if you're taking notes, tip number one, understand how your consumers are truly getting paid. This is massive to you keeping the business that you write on the books so that you can not only protect these great folks, but also so that y'all get paid, right? We want to get paid so that we can stay in the business. And if you don't understand how your consumer gets paid, this can be very problematic for you. So a lot of these great final expense prospects are paid on the first or on the third of the month. One time a month, typically that's it. That's when they get their take home pay, a singular dump of money. And also, some other consumers that are seniors or retirees are paid on the second or the third or the fourth Wednesday of the month. You've got to know when and how they're paid. So it's very important that you understand how a Social Security billing calendar works so that you don't create problems that really you could have solved by seeing this content. And I'm going to put that video up at the end. So at the end, watch that video. I'll also put a little pop-up here that's going to help you unpack through another video how to calculate Social Security billing. Because if you don't see when that client is paid, it's going to sour the taste in your mouth when you try to take money out of the account. So, for example, let's say the third of the month is when they're paid, and the third falls on, let's say, a Sunday. Well, they were actually paid like Friday, days before, so that when you go to take out that money, there's nothing in there and the client's going to blame you. This creates havoc when you're trying to help final expense prospects. So make sure you watch that video on how true Social Security billing works, because that's going to be a very, very big help to you. So now that you've understand point number one, you know how true Social Security billing works and how your consumers paid, it's very important that you use an insurance carrier that will align in perfection with that date that they truly get paid. This is going to keep the business on the books when you do this right. So not only will you now know how to use Social Security billing, but you're going to use an insurance carrier, not necessarily the cheapest carrier at all times. You're going to one that really takes into account how the client's paid and then knows that if they're paid, let's say the third falls on a Sunday, this insurance carrier knows that they're paid on the Friday the day before. They'll coordinate it and actually take out the money on the exact date and time that Social Security pays them. This solves the problem before the problem exists. You've got to use the right carriers. This is why aligning with the right insurance agency that really loves their consumers, but also their agents, is so critical to you capitalizing. And if you need any resources or a good work family, of course, jasonfinalexpense.com. We can even get you the carrier that can help you solve this problem, even if you're not having all your carriers with us. But understand, you've got to have good partnerships. It's powerful in the space, because a lot of the problems that are self-induced are just because you didn't know how Social Security worked or how your prospect is perfectly paid. Maybe you're setting up the prospect with a carrier that, oh, you're paid on the third. Okay, every third of the month, we're going to take out the money. Well, when it falls on a weekend and let's say it's on a Sunday that the third or the first falls, and then they took out the money the month before, this is why your business isn't sticking. This is why partially why sometimes your business isn't staying. Now, point number two, if you want to be paid very consistently and not have all these self-induced problems, you've got to take the time to really relax with each sale. You've got to spend the time so you don't shortcut the relationship. This is really a relationship business. And if you're not writing sticky business, your business is just bouncing off the books, you've got to really ask the question, did I bring enough value to the consumer? Did I really build on the relationship? And that's going to happen by not rushing. Rushing is the problem. The solution is really being that person that is interested in the consumer's problem. Did we unpack the problem to be able to then solve it with our product, or were maybe we being pushy? We can't stretch a consumer financially. It's just nothing you would want done to yourself. And this is what a lot of insurance agents do. They're trying to pump AP, the rah-rah of the industry. I'm getting my biggest take home. I'm getting my best day ever. And then sometimes it's self-destructive behavior where we put pressure on the prospect and then they may buy from you, but then they never stay with you. So be very conscious that tip number two is big. I'm going to make sure that whatever I do is right and perfect for the consumer. Make sure that you're uncovering their problems and then the product comes out, and then do it in a place where it's very, very budgetable so that that business is still on the books in the long game. It's not about getting a piece of business written that maybe pays your bills one day, and then the moment that it comes around for the banking, you get met with a non-sufficient funds charge because the Busch Light just became a lot more important than your hyped up premium. So it's all about helping the consumer. Always go back to the basics, all right? Take your time with each sale. Spend time with the consumer. It's not all about price. It's really not. It's all about value, but make sure you're using a carrier that really cares enough about the consumer to take out the money the very moment and minute that that consumer's paid. That's why understanding Social Security billing and how that calendar works is so instrumental to you. And if you go to jasonfinalexpense.com, a pop-up will happen. You can have that for zero cost to you. Okay. Now, point number 3, if you want to write more sticky business, is now that you have the relationship, you've spent the time to get to know the consumer, and now you've really solved the problem with your product. Now your follow-up game needs to be strong. You've got to focus on service. You've got to slow down. Let them know what the day is going to look like when they need you. Let them know what the day is going to look like in the future, that you're going to follow up with them via text and email, and maybe you'll write them a thank you note. You've got to always be focusing on them because service sells, and service is going to be something that's going to help you outlast everybody else that is just pushing, and then wonder why their block of business feels like it got pushed over a cliff and they didn't make the money in this industry. It's very simple, but a lot of times we don't see the opportunity for what it is, and that's a lot of work for sure. It's also a lot of faith and leaning in, but you're taking care of some people that can be at times, just like insurance agents can be, sometimes a little fickle. In the moment that you really pressure a consumer, that's the very moment that your business may be over and you find no profitability in an industry that's completely dynamic. But you've got to be focusing on the consumer. Those that do are those that get. It's definitely a performance-based business, but there's no better life than the independent agent life. So number 1, understand how a Social Security calendar works. Align yourself with companies that do just that very thing so that you can keep the business on the books, but make sure that everything is budget friendly, so that that business does stay on the books, so that you can be a beast in this just awesome space. If I can do anything to serve you, jasonfinalexpense.com. Hope this was a help to you, and we'll see you soon, my friends. I appreciate you.